One of my guidelines is this, Joey. If I'm selling you a house, you're putting down $3,500 earnest money.
$3,500.
I don't want you to sign this contract with me unless you're going to close.
Okay.
Now, you might walk away from $500, but I don't think you're going to walk away from $3,500.
Okay, good.
So I don't want you to sign anything with me unless you're going to close.
All right. Hey everybody, hi, this is Joey Backowitz and welcome to the world of real estate. I want to introduce you today to a very good friend of mine. His name is Les Putnam, okay? Les and I have known each other now for what, maybe 4 years?
4 years.
For 4 years, and we met through Renatus. And the long and the short of it is Les has done over 700 wholesale deals. Very specific in how he did it, very technical in how he did it, but he did it. And Les, thanks for coming in today. And I'd like to talk, about wholesaling and how you did it, and how you developed your own little niche with HUD, right? With HUD.
That's been my primary focus, but probably mid-90s, if you go back a little bit, I started noticing the infomercials, and it developed an interest of maybe getting involved with real estate investing. I bought a lot of stuff over the years, dabbled in it, but I never had the confidence to step out and do something until I had a chance to work with some people who were already doing what I wanted to learn. Those 700, a good portion of those, I was working with a team of people. They weren't by myself. And I just want to clarify that. But if you do a lot of one thing, you get good at it. You know the nuances, and if you can master something like that and focus on that, you can do a lot. But as far as wholesaling goes, I've been to a lot of meetings over the years. There's different groups that come through town, and they always dangle wholesaling out there. I mean, you can go online and Google wholesaling, and there's probably 10 people trying to sell you something. And they use wholesaling as a carrot, saying, hey, you don't need any money, you can make money quick, and it's simple, and they really promote it that way. But there are some nuances you have to understand if you're going to wholesale or flip properties, because you have to learn how to assess property. Assessing value is a skill set that you're going to need. Otherwise, you're just guessing. And if you're just guessing, you're going to tie up people's properties. You're going to cost them time and money because they're trying to sell their house. And
let me ask you, and then you're also ruining your credibility, right?
True.
Yeah.
I mean, you're learning as you go, but it.
Well, one of the maxims we have with we're both involved in Renatus is one of the biggest guys we have, Randy Pertler. I mean, he has a 3 strikeout rule. If you're a wholesaler, you bring me one deal that don't work, or you bring me a second deal that don't work. You know what? 3 strikes, you're out. There may not even be a third one. So I think this is more from the analysis side, right?
Yes.
Okay. And what does the analysis entail? Does it, besides the market value before, after, are you making assessments on the construction and how much it could cost to do it, or anything like that?
Well, when I go into a property and I'm just estimating. Mm-hmm. I'm estimating repairs. I'm not bidding a contract as if I was a contractor, and hey, if I'm way off, I'm losing money and I won't be in business that long. But in general,
okay,
5 to 10,000, 10 to 15,000, 15 to 20 repairs. I'm looking for serious defects, because the main question I'm always asking myself is, who is my market? I'm going to get this house under contract, and if I'm not going to close and own this myself because I want to fix and flip it, or because I want to do a rental, make it
Right.
into a rental, or a lease option, or sell it on contract and create a note and mortgage. If I'm not buying that for myself and I'm going to flip that to someone, I always have to ask myself, who is my market? Is it
Do you have multiple markets? Are you what you're talking about is exit strategies, right?
well?
Or what?
Who's going to be my buyer?
Okay.
Who's my market? Who's going to buy this if I'm just going to flip it to them, or if I'm just going to assign it to them? If I'm going to not take possession, but I'm just going to assign the rights to this contract. Is it an investor? Is it a buy and hold investor? Is it a fix and flip investor?
Okay.
Is it a homeowner, first time homeowner? That's what I have to ask myself. Who's going to buy this? If I intend to just flip that house, who's going to buy it?
Right. Okay.
So I have to see what kind of neighborhood it's in. Is this predominantly a rental neighborhood, or it looks like there's a lot of homeowners the way they keep their property? And I just kind of ask those main questions, because when you come to a house, I could drop you into a city and say, hey, what do you think that house is worth?
Mm-hmm.
Where do I begin?
Mm-hmm.
First off, I try to establish, is this a rental neighborhood? Is this a homeowner's neighborhood?
Okay. All right.
What kind of neighborhood is it? Any town has good and bad side of town,
Right.
Some areas are upkept, some are deteriorating. That can come back, but you have to ask yourself, where's this house?
Okay.
Look at the street. If you're walking around this house, is there a pit bull barking at you the whole time? Because if you're going to resell this house, whoever's buying it, they're going to notice that same thing.
Yeah.
If you go there and the guy's got a junkyard going on, he's your neighbor. Okay, when you go to sell this house,
He ain't moving out by then, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
that's,
Okay.
so you have to be aware of that stuff.
Okay.
But I'll get a house under contract, and when I have a house under contract, I have equitable interest. I can market that ownership, that equitable interest.
Okay.
And what I do is I do a back-to-back closing. To this day, I
Which is explain what a back-to-back is.
a back-to-back closing. I am going to close with the title company, and I'm taking ownership. There's a deed. I'm receiving a deed for that property.
Okay.
But I'm coordinating with the title company and my buyer that they're going to sign their documents and close on that same day.
On the same day?
Yes.
So if it's on a Tuesday, you could close on a Tuesday?
So we're doing a back-to-back
Excuse me, but I always thought that the best way is to close it on a Tuesday and then resell it on a Wednesday.
Well,
the
title company has allowed me to do it this way. The major title companies in the Chicagoland area
Yeah.
will allow me to do it this way.
Okay.
Now, I coordinate with my buyer. If I'm closing on Friday, my buyer is signing all their closing documents. Their funds are sitting in escrow. So when I go to closing Friday, their funds are already in escrow. Their documents are already signed. So the day before, or depending on the price of the house, I'll take my funds to close with the bank, the seller. So I'll sign my documents with them. Excuse me. I'll sign my documents with them, and then I'm going to turn around and sign my documents with this other buyer.
Okay.
So the title company will file my deed, and then they're going to, once they got confirmation that that's filed, then they will file the second deed.
Okay. Now, is your title company, do they feel, is the reason they're doing it, obviously you have relationships at the title companies?
Relationships are always important, but before you go to do this, one of the things you need to do is establish with the title company you're going to use.
Okay.
Because they need to understand what you're doing.
Okay.
Some title companies might say, oh, we don't understand that, we won't close that type of deal.
Okay, so they not only understand it, but it gives them a sense of security that it's not going to be a jumbled up escrow because they know you've got somebody who's going to buy and close?
Well, they're closing both transactions.
Not simultaneous,
No.
but close.
So they're handling the deeds. They make sure those get recorded.
Okay.
Now, if I'm closing with a certain title company over here, but you want to use this other title company, there's always the chance of a mix-up
Yeah.
in the filing of those deeds. To avoid that, I try to do both closings with this title company.
Let me ask you, why is somebody you're talking about your buyer wants your buyer or their attorney wants to use another title company?
Okay.
Why do they usually want to do that? Is it because they got a relationship and they can do it?
Well,
Sometimes the lawyers are making
they want to write that title policy.
Okay.
Now, if I'm doing a back-to-back closing like this title company is not going to require me to buy title insurance. But the end buyer will be buying title insurance.
Okay. All right.
So that's one factor. I'll have some attorneys. Now, my key thing as I go into these deals is control.
Okay.
I'm a control freak.
Well, that's why you're successful.
I'm not going to give control of this deal to anybody.
Good.
Hey, I'll talk to your lawyer.
Yeah.
Hey, if you want to sign your documents at your lawyer's office, but he's not doing the title search, he's not writing the title policy, because there's a lot of money
Yep.
if you're able to write those policies. And so, hey, we're going to use this one. And why will these people do this? Because they're getting a good deal.
Okay, good. All right.
And it's always been win-win. I've never felt like, oh, got over on that guy.
Yeah.
No, they're getting houses at a deep discount. The numbers work for them. They want the house, and they're willing to use my title company. They're willing to jump through the hoops to make this happen.
Good. So what you're approaching, don't not the wrong I'm saying it, but it's like a cookie cutter approach with you being in control. I mean,
Yes.
hey, it's easy. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Your lawyer doesn't have to play big shot lawyer and get in a big debate about it. And there's no string pulling. It's done and it's repeated. I mean, because what's your best customer? The repeat customer, right? And
Yes.
yeah, and you got the same formula doing it. Okay, now has your experience has been, you've done a lot of HUD deals.
I've dealt with a lot of HUD deals.
And what are HUD deals? And how do they, why is that different than the rest of them?
Okay. A HUD foreclosure, okay, the government wanted banks to be more flexible in their lending. And basically they said, if you'll be more flexible with your guidelines to give out these loans so these people can get home ownership,
Yeah.
we'll back those loans. So if someone defaults and it was a HUD-backed loan, eventually it becomes a HUD foreclosure.
Okay.
And now, this day and age, the HUD inventory is way down. But
That's because it's been weeding down from the last recession, right? Or
Well,
during that period, or what?
they'll try to move their properties through auction.com and other sources, but the HUD inventory that I've bid on, there might be 23 in the whole state of Indiana right now.
Okay.
I looked last night. Those numbers are real low. At one time when I started out, there would be 400 on any given day in Indiana, 400 in Illinois.
Okay.
And
Was that closer to the recession, the Great Recession?
yeah,
Okay, all right.
but one of the things, these are across the whole state.
Of Indiana. Or Illinois.
Or Illinois.
Okay.
And so one thing you have to ask yourself, if you want to wholesale, do you want to wholesale HUD properties? Do you want to try to wholesale HUD properties? You're going to have to close on them because you can't.
That's their rules.
You can't assign a HUD contract.
Okay.
So you have to take ownership.
Okay.
As far as if someone was starting out in wholesaling today, I would say you need to find motivated sellers locally to where you're at.
Okay.
You need to build up a buyer's list locally to where you live.
Okay.
Your risk is going to be a lot less with HUD, the minimum risk is you've got to put 500 earnest money down, or 1,000. If you're doing something off market with a motivated seller, maybe you're putting $10 down, $20 down, $50 down.
Okay.
You're limiting your risk, and it's more realistic to operate where you live. And unless you want to drive 3 hours this way, 3 hours that way.
Okay.
And
Well, I know you've driven a lot more of those. I mean, some days you put on 600 miles, right?
Yep. But I'm willing to make that drive because with anything, there's a learning curve.
Yes.
And if someone was starting out today, I would say start locally, off market. And as you learn, maybe you consider doing stuff HUD and looking out.
Okay.
But I wouldn't say start there.
Okay.
I wouldn't say start there unless you got 500 to lose.
All right, let me ask you a question. Now, if you have to close, you close either with your own money or I'm not talking about you, I'm just saying this in general, or there's investors that'll do stuff like that, probably, or there's transactional guys funding that.
Yes.
What's the mix-up? Tell me about
Well,
it.
there's a whole industry of transactional funding. There are companies out there that will do same-day funding. If they know that you're closing and then reselling the same day, hey, they'll line up out your door to fund those type deals.
Okay.
You could go online and find someone like that. Now you're going to pay more.
Yeah.
Maybe you're paying $1,750 for them to close your deal, but their funds will be there.
Okay.
If you have a good process, I've got people that will fund these for $500
Okay.
because they know that my buyers already signed their documents. Their funds are already sitting in escrow. They're like, sure, I'll wire my funds to the title company because the next day they're getting them right back with their $500 fee.
Fantastic. Okay.
And so
Let me ask you a question. Have you had, through all the deals that you've done, you're putting together the buyer, you got the seller, you got the buyer. Have you ever had it where there was some uneasiness with the buyer or the buyer dropped out and you still wanted to close or had to close? And
I did have one because I kind of went outside my guidelines. Normally you establish
And what was
guidelines.
that? What was that?
Well, I didn't have him put as much earnest money down. His proof of funds, this was a contractor that had done an insurance job. This was Central Indiana. He had done an insurance job and he was supposed to get paid a couple weeks after I was closing. And I didn't have him prove that.
Oh,
And
okay.
I went off his word,
Yeah.
and he didn't get the amount of money he thought he was going to get from doing that contract work on an insurance claim.
Okay.
And he didn't have the funds to close. Now, he forfeited his earnest money. Well, now I had a house, which was 2.5 hours away,
Okay.
that just sat there for a while and became a headache. So, if
A headache and a nuisance because you had to add another 5 hours to go there and come back.
one of my guidelines is this, Joey. If I'm selling you a house, you're putting down $3,500 earnest money.
$3,500.
I don't want you to sign this contract with me unless you're going to close.
Okay.
Now, you might walk away from $500, but I don't think you're going to walk away from $3,500.
Okay, good.
So I don't want you to sign anything with me unless you're going to close.
All right.
And that's
And how do you
One of the
do you
guidelines.
let them with the due diligence? They can get in there, they can kick the tires, they can.
yeah,
Yeah.
They get a chance to look at the property, check it out, and there's ways we get them in there.
Okay.
If they're using their broker or whatever.
Okay.
We'll-
All right.
we'll-
Well, this is part 1 of Les Putnam. Okay. Save those secrets for part 2. Okay. Hey, everybody, listen, stay tuned. Les is, Les, how many of those 700 did you do before we met, or before you joined and before we met at Renatus?
I stopped counting.
No,
I haven't.
no, but I mean, you've done a lot before you joined us, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you did a few hundred before you joined us, or
No, when I came in here 5 years ago, I've been a part of 700 deals.
It was 700 before
And I
you joined
haven't,
us.
I don't track that since.
Okay, but you've done numerous deals, and this is how
Yeah.
you make your living. It's your job.
I had,
What benefits did you have?
I had a closing Tuesday this week.
Yeah.
Wednesday, I'll have a closing tomorrow morning and a closing next Monday.
Okay.
So I got a lot of stuff going on.
Okay.
I'm still just going to say 700. I'm going to say 704, 705. I'm not McDonald's.
Yeah.
But wholesaling is a technique and strategy, okay, of acquisition. It's a job. It's not cash flow.
Okay.
So if you want to create wealth and freedom, you got to create cash flow. Wholesaling is not that.
Okay.
Now, you might make some profits if you're fix and flipping a house or wholesaling a house. I would encourage people to put those monies into something that will cash flow, whether it be a rental, whether it be lease options, whether it be a note and mortgage,
Okay.
selling things on contract. And one thing I got out of Renatus, why I joined Renatus, I felt like I was a one-trick pony with wholesaling.
Yeah.
I made a lot of money, been a part of a lot of deals, and but I felt like I wasn't a true investor, and I wanted to be a part of a group of people that have done all kinds of types of deals.
Good. Okay.
Because if you expose yourself to many strategies, you can be more creative in the deals that you put together.
Exactly.
And that's why I joined Renatus.
All right.
I always tell people this: if you want to learn something, you need to educate yourself. You got to pay the price. Just buying some course doesn't mean you've got it. You got to get into it and learn those concepts and the language.
All right, but let me ask you a question. I run into people all the time. Well, I could learn this stuff on YouTube, on video. On there.
Well, why aren't you doing anything?
True. Okay.
You know,
I got it. Yeah.
There is strength in numbers, but I would say you got to educate yourself, and then if you get around people who are doing what you want to learn, you'll have a better chance of having success. You know, if you work in the mills, if you want to be an electrician, a plumber, you know, you get the education, but they put you with someone. They don't just send you out there on your own. You apprentice.
You apprentice with somebody.
And if you can be a part of a group, networking is huge. You meet people. I met you in this group, and I knew right away that's someone I wanted to develop a friendship and do deals in the future. And we're
doing it. Yeah.
So that's what I found with Renatus.
Well, good.
I think they have a premier education, and that's.
All right, one last loaded question. Because of the quarantine, because of the pandemic, because of whatever, the riots and all that stuff, where do you see you into real estate, you in your particular real estate world? What do you see in the future? Near, short term, long term, whatever.
Well, whenever there's upheaval, whenever there's
Chaos.
whenever there's changing of regulations, whenever there's change, there's opportunity in anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking into getting more into the notes because that's the cash flow. I personally didn't want to be a property manager.
Right.
Excuse me. And so notes is going to be one of the strategies.
And we're talking
I'm
about
focusing
is seller finance notes.
that,
Or
and,
you're the seller.
creating notes.
Creating notes.
Yeah.
Okay, that'll be another discussion. Hey, everybody, listen. If you like this, you're going to see Les again. I'm going to get him down here again for at least a part 2 and probably a part 3. I think I could get it. This guy has been doing this longer than most people have even heard of the word real estate, okay? So, hey, if you like this, share it, subscribe, and stay tuned. Thank you very much.